audience. Who would have thought?
All yours.
Mine.
All yours.
Well, I'd like to call to order the City of Willamette Budget Committee meeting, the preliminary fiscal year 2024 meeting. And I'll first start with a roll call. Introduce yourselves and tell us why you're here.
Here.
I'm Ruth Causey, and I am a city councilor.
I'm Diane Crocker, and I'm a city councilor.
I am Teresa Nielsen, and I'm also a city councilor.
I'm Matt Lehman. I was forced to be here.
I'm Christopher McMorrin, also a city councilor who was forced to be here. But was very excited to be here.
Yes.
There we go.
I'm David Lowe, and I'm no longer a city councilor. I'm just
Yeah.
Mark Kippy, I'm a citizen at large, I guess, or a large citizen.
Van Hunsaker, I'm a citizen at large, I guess is what you call me.
Brian Caseman, citizen at large.
Brzezinski, Finance Director.
Jeff Struminski, it's my third year on the budget committee, and I'm a voice of the citizens of Philomath for sure.
And I'm Jessica Andrade, a city councilor.
That I will turn it over to Mike Brzezinski for the 2023-24 budget coordination.
Are we gonna start over?
Would you like to?
Well, this, you just said 23, 24.
Oh, okay.
It's
Reading.
That's why I was referring. You can start over.
Yeah, I think it's about time to review that.
Ooh.
Rick's in the process of setting up the floor plan in the CDF. But I'll go over a couple little things. Like basically,
I just wanted to let you know, sorry, that your voice sounds like it's coming from a really long way away.
sorry, Jessica.
No, it's okay. I don't know what it is about your voice that the mic doesn't pick up very well, but
I
anyway.
want to look up instead of looking around, I guess. Anyway, tonight we're just going to get you oriented, get you primed for the real process that begins in May 1st. Most of you have gone through this. This is, I think, your second year, Brent. And what I'm going to show you is nothing new, but it's kind of like we got some other items we want to show you, talk about. But tonight we're just talking about procedure and policies and stuff we think more about what to get. That we will do May 1st. And so, Chris has got the paper, the presentation set up. We've gone through, I'm going to switch through. Okay, we're going to have, May's going to be pretty fast. We're going to go through it pretty fast in May. Tonight we're doing an orientation training. Then May, April 26th, we'll get the binders with all the paperwork in it. May 1st is when we sit down and we're going to elect chairs. Dan and Brent were chairs last year. They can be, can put somebody else up if you like, or they can volunteer to do it again. Chris will deliver the budget message. We'll probably put that together. We'll have a public hearing on the state shared revenues like we always do. We've got to have public comment. Overview the budget all the way through and discuss any relevant changes. And then take any public input. That's the first meeting. We're going to take all your questions from that meeting and come back in 2 weeks and we will respond to those with staff. That'll be on May 15th at 5:30. We're kind of doing number 3 on the agenda already, so we might look at it real quick, make sure we didn't miss anything. So May 22nd, we moved it up from May 30th to May 22nd. I've got some issues on home. I can't be here on the 30th. So we'll respond to any questions from the second meeting, and then we will adopt and we'll approve the urban renewal budget and the city budget plus the tax levies, and approve those, recommend them to council for their adoption. And that's what we'll be doing that time. And then the fourth one is not, you all don't have to be there, June 11th or June 12th, I should say. That is when the council will do their adoption, and they'll have their public hearing on the state share. We'll do separate hearings for the city in the urban renewal, and they will adopt and appropriate the budget and categorize taxes for the city that we are. So that's what we're gonna be doing in the next 4 or 5 weeks. Any questions on that? Next here, we're gonna talk about who's on the budget committee. Now, we're gonna go through 4 steps. We're gonna talk about the budget committee in meetings, we're gonna talk about the budget development, then we'll talk about the budget organization, then some final slides Chris and I put together. One you'll remember from last year, they're kind of high level things that you need to know about before we go into the budget. These are things that council has done. Then we'll just wrap it up. So right now we're talking about budget committee and the meetings involved. So who's on the budget committee? Basically seven councilors, 7 city members, and they're appointed by the city council. We stagger the terms, so everybody's here for 3 years, but we stagger them so we can replace them, be replaced on a 1/3 basis. And you can be reappointed if need be, if you'd like to come back. I mean, it seems like everybody comes back and then they want to cancel. Okay. Anyway. Go ahead, Jeff. We're down one that I know of. I know we have one, we've got tonight, we have 5 of you. We've got one that's missing. I don't know where the other 2 are. Ruth kept track of those. She told me Jessica was zooming, and I couldn't remember who else we're missing. I didn't bring the list and check it out. So yeah, I know we're down one, but we're okay with that. Okay,
Can you remind me what a quorum of the budget committee is?
quorum will be, that can be dicey.
That's why I'm asking.
We gotta have 8. That's the quorum. I don't wanna go into the fine details. Let's just call it 8. If it gets to where it's dicey, I will pull out the budget law and we'll look at it together. Because there's gotta be more counselors than more citizens. So I would say, at least we need 5 as a council.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help you?
Yes.
But it can get really squirrely after that.
Okay.
Anyway. Okay, that's who's on the budget committee. Now, who runs the budget committee? That's gonna be whoever we elected chair. Last year it was, like I said, Van was the chair and Jim was the secretary. We all have the same, don't look at it like that, Van, you can do it. Secretary or the vice chair?
I think that's what I remember. It's been a year, but
You were, yeah, I was
yeah.
thinking the secretary, but you're right, it was the vice chair. Now, anyway, they will be running the show if they're reelected. But just remember, they all have the same degree of authority and responsibility. That's the big thing. So, any questions for me to that? Okay, what does the budget committee do? You're going to receive, like you said, the budget message. Or the budget document. Then you'll hear the budget message, and then consider, hear, and any public comment. Discuss the budget and revise needs as needed, and then approve the budget and the property taxes at the end. Jessica, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. All right, what does the budget committee not do? Now, basically, you don't approve any of the new personnel of the contract or salary schedule. That's up to the council right here to do that. I don't know why we say you don't approve the individual line items. Pretty much we all look at the line items together. So that's kind of true and false. Then you can direct us, me and Chris, to make dollar adjustments to the total appropriations to the specific funds, increases or decreases.
I think the point of the second bullet point is that, like within the general fund, you're approving the budget for that department, but you're not necessarily going line by line to approve each line item of that. So when the budget's approved, it's within the general fund, it's by department, and then outside the general fund, it's by fund.
Yeah, I'll say 60. I'll rearrange that one a little bit. I have a note on it. Yeah, that makes more sense.
But you have the authority to see and question anything.
Of course.
Is that correct?
Right. Yeah. And that's where we'll write it down and we'll come back with an answer for you, or, yeah, we'll do that.
More.
Well, and I thought part of that too is like, we can't add or remove line item, shift the numbers in them.
Right.
Is that, okay,
That's true.
okay.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody removing, usually like they're saying, they just rearranged around.
Okay.
No.
There's no, other than there's no reason you can't do any of that.
Yep. Any other questions? Then of course, you'll hear the public comment. It's going to be at the beginning of each meeting. Usually it's people, a person wants to address the budget committee to give time, give them time. And we would prefer to get a written communication so you have it prior to the meeting, so we can, if we have, we can get an answer for you, or you're aware of it beforehand. Now the budget committee meeting rule, this will be applying, could start tonight, but will really be an application next week or the next meeting. Let the chair know that you want to speak by raising your hand. In Zoom, use the chat, the raise hand feature. Be respectful of one another's opinions. I mean, we got 14 people, everybody's going to have different opinions. And Chris and I have different opinions. So, it's okay to disagree on it. We'll just move on. Consider it our time. Everybody's given this volunteer for a lot of people. And when the decision's been made, let's move on and support it. Also, the budget committee has to meet in here and talk about the budget committee in here. If you go outside, please don't get in fine details until it's been approved. Any questions there? Now we move into the budget development. Basically there's three things that we do, or the council does before I start the creation of the budget. They put together a strategic plan and review it, update it each year with all the goals. They also adopt the capital improvement project plan, and then they approve the utility rates and the other fees related to fees and so on. But then once all that's approved, the council's already done that. They finished that back in, I think it was February or March. Seems like yesterday. But since they finished that, I put the budget together and finishing up the final details at the moment. But I can't do anything until the council approves those three items. So I'll give kind of a quick overview on each one of those right now. Chris, did you want to talk about the strategic plan? We've got that one down.
Yeah, so strategic plans are in place for a number of years now. It shouldn't be new to anybody. The council works on this every year. Typically, we look at action items that have been completed and are done, or objectives that we've been able to reach. And so those come off and get put into the appendix. And then we're always looking to add new projects, whether it be a new piece of infrastructure or a new policy we're going to go after. Whatever that new objective might be is going to have action items for that year. We don't typically see, from the left to the right or right to left, when we're looking, we will often have new action items that get priorities for that year. The objectives will be met once the action items are done up to meet the objectives. The themes don't typically change a whole lot. There's, I think, currently 5 different themes that we float under. Goals will change periodically as well as we accomplish goals and move around. The themes, we're at 5 themes, and those haven't changed, and we wordsmith them a little bit every now and then. And then the mission statement of the city has stayed consistent for quite a while now. So that's from the bottom up how the strategic plan works. It helps the council to focus, and it helps the staff to focus on those priority projects. I would say it also serves as a bit of a shield to shield the city from taking on a bunch of other little side projects that sound like really, really good ideas, but aren't within the strategic plan, right? They're not the priorities of the city at the time. So we will follow the strategic plan. A lot of the action items that were approved by the city council in the strategic plan have already been rolled into and should be reflected in the budget that you be presented with for this year. So we'll make some note of that as we're going through them. You'll see some dollar amounts in there for specific projects. But again, at the staff level, we try to already get that input from the city council on their priorities and make sure that there's funding in the budget to take care of those items. Doesn't mean those things can't change, but if it's not in the strategic plan and it's not budgeted, then it doesn't happen. Right? If it's in the strategic plan and there's a budget for it, then there's a good chance that it'll happen. And so just because it's in the strategic plan or in the budget doesn't necessarily mean it's going to move forward, but it means it has the opportunity to go forward that year because there's funding and there's strategy around making that a priority. So I think that covers it for strategic plan. Any questions on how that works? It's available on the website. We don't provide you a full hard copy, but you can go online, Google search it. It's very easy to get to and pretty easy to read through. Yeah.
Now, as Chris alluded to, the strategic plan is encompassing, it tells us what we're gonna do. Next thing we do is we create a capital improvement project that have, basically do streets, sewer, water, parks, storm. We've got those 5 major ones that we set money aside. They have priorities. They will be in the budget. This will be in the capital project fund, which is the LB fund, 41. Now we set a schedule aside to put money aside for the land building. Any buildings that we're gonna improve, the improvements to City Hall, libraries on there. I mean, it's been there for a couple of years, so that's the kind of things. These are coming from the strategic plan. So we council approved the improvement plan a couple months ago, so we're moving forward on that. But it will be within the budget. Next thing that we go through is the utility rates and the other fees, basically the utility fees and street fees, the storm drain fees, and so on. That is a big major thing. It sets the rates for the water, sewer, and streets, so we can build the capital improvement projects or to fund those. Their estimates. So as soon as we can get a utility rate study, I think we're going to start that probably soon, get the RFP going. So we get that checked out in the next year or so. We also have the storm drain, the street fee, and so on. So that's the estimated revenues that will be in the budget. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. Now we're moving into the budget organization. Now, I could bore you to death on the way I have to set it up, but basically right now, the budget's organized, general fund, street fund, water, and so on. Each fund has its own dedicated revenue, and that's why we break it down that way. We have to keep the money separate. The only one that's kind of discretionary is the general fund. By law, we have to keep any dedicated revenues separate. I have to be able to tell the auditor, it's like this money that came in from the street fund or from highway dollars is going to the street fund, or the water rates are going to the water fund. I think it needs over to the general fund. But that's why we have to organize it that way. They have to be dedicated. The money's dedicated. Every budget must be balanced. General fund is, that can transfer out to support other funds, but not very many people, more need the fund to transfer money back to support the general fund. The general fund is a big supporter of the whole city. Then all the other funds, he's got the street funds. Let's move to the next one. I'll tell you, this is something I just put together today because something that the council would like to see when I do my audit stuff. It's the fund categories and their numbering. There are two types of funds, or two types of categories of financial information. We got governmental. That consists of the general fund, the development fund, all the special revenue funds, with those dedicated numbers. So, then we have the proprietary. Those are, they call them business type in the audit world, but we just know them as the system development water and so on. But now I have to segregate those when I do my audit. I always tell anybody when we start the budget, I'm only working on the audit for that year. So I have to segregate it just like this at the final count. So that's the fun stuff there. Now we're going to move into sorry, David.
Yeah, just, so we have system development charge under 42 governmental, and then the same thing under 43.
43, right, 42,
So-
43.
Just to clarify on why.
What it is it's dedicated dollars for specific funds. The governmental, which is the street and the parks, that goes into the governmental. And then the water, sewer, and so on goes over to the proprietary. The auditors had them break it apart 2 years ago. And it's a good idea. That way you've got your money, you've got your segregated dollars. That help you, Dave?
Thank you.
Yeah, was there another hand? Okay. Now we're going to talk about the last couple of slides. The American Rescue Plan, it's still there. We've got a couple of projects we're working on, and then Waste Street, the water treatment plant, is also ARPA dollars. So they're still in the budget. So we got $1.2 million 2 years ago. I think, last year was the last year we got it. And we're almost done with getting the 16th, 17th online. We finally got that going. That's in the capital projects. Then we have the lighting project on 13th Street. And the City Hall kiosk, it's already out there, if you haven't noticed that. Chris, you want to add anything to it?
No, well, the goal is when the federal government gave this money to the cities, it wasn't to sit on and stockpile, it was to spend and to find things that we could spend on to make improvements. So we've spent it on improving the sewer system, and then we've found several projects that would be geared more towards improving outreach to the community, like the kiosk. Some of the improvements to this room were all paid for out of these funds, providing for the sound system and the new layout and all of that was all paid for with these funds so that we can do live stream meetings, whatnot, the TVs, the new computer. All that was paid for out of these funds as well for better access and communication with the public. So we're just about done, as Mike said, spending all these funds. The last of them will be that big sewer project for 16th, 17th, and 18th Street, which we just awarded the contract on, and they'll get started on that the first part of next month. Once those monies will be spent, we'll get all the accounting done with the feds so that we've got all the money accounted for, show them all it got spent. And then we won't see it in the budget anymore other than for past expenditure.
Does it actually have to be spent, or can it be allocated to a specific project?
The allocation, there's different dates. The allocation, I think, is by
The December 31st. That date should be December 31st.
December 31st.
Yeah. Has to be encumbered by then, and we've pretty much encumbered everything.
Okay, and tell me what you mean by encumbered.
Allocate, another word for allocating. It's earmarked for a project.
Here.
Let's see, you got that one.
Yeah, so stellar impact, we won't probably put too much on what you'll see when we give you the budget numbers, but you'll see that our expenses are, our personnel expenses are up. This is pretty common in government right now. It's pretty common across the board, so it's costing more money for payroll. I gave just a little bit of background here, just for budget committee members that might be new this year or last year. We got direction a couple of years ago to do a pay equity and total compensation study. There was a new state law that was passed that dealt with pay equity, so that individuals, employees doing similar type of work, even if they were in different departments, if it was similar type of work, then the pay should be equal or close to, it should be equitable in those situations. And so we hired an outside consultant to look at all of the positions in the city. We developed one pay schedule or one salary schedule, and then we placed every position within the city on that schedule somewhere based on the workload that they do, the expectations that are put on it, the responsibility in those positions. So the city manager position would work up, and then the assistant, and then the directors. We worked all the way down to our seasonal employees that come in, and so everybody falls on that schedule and the appropriate spot. We also did a comparison and looked at comparable cities and comparable positions within our area. And as we said, we found that some of our positions were about right, but some of them were quite a bit lower than what the salary schedule said they should be. So we had to make some adjustments to those positions. Primarily it was the management positions and our police department position. And so those were adjusted, and the city council adopted a new salary schedule that better reflected where we should be based on the schedule or the survey that was completed. Based on that schedule, we then rolled that into updated union contracts with the police, with the public works, and we did a new contract with the city manager, which I'm grateful for. All of those contracts and union agreements have clauses in there for increases that are scheduled, and so we're seeing now in year 2 those salary increases, right? Those step increases and all that goes forward. And so what ends up coming about is here we are in 24, 25, and what we're seeing is that those salary adjustments and all that schedule and the equity pay and all of those contract agreements are in full effect, right? We don't have any more half year or partial years. We have a full year to budget with those impacts, and you're going to see it in every department that you go through. So just know that where you're going to see those increases. We know that materials and services have gone up as well, and we'll talk to that a little bit, but just be aware that you're going to see salary impact in every department, because according to the pay equity and total compensation study, we're now paying employees what we should be paying compared to the comparable in our area. So we'll have the results of that, and you'll see them.
Are the revenues sufficient to support all the increases?
You will see that in the budget. Yeah, we're not permitted to talk too much about the specific budget. We're trying to just kind of talk about background and overview. So yeah, we'll be careful there.
And why do you bring this up specifically? Obviously, we talked earlier in the presentation that the budget committee doesn't have anything to do with the salary impact or salary contract or anything like that. So, and I'm sure there's going to be other things that have gone up. And I hear what you're saying about you're going to see notices. But why talk about this now? Why bring this in presentation when we're going to discuss it at our first meeting anyway? Is it that important? Is it that large, or you can't say it?
It's significant enough that it'll be obvious to you, and without a little bit of background on why are we seeing large increases in personnel expenses, well, this is why, right? So we'll just try to give you a little bit of background history here on what's led up to what you're going to be seeing in this year's budget.
We can't do anything about it anyway.
No,
as far as directly working, because that's not part of our thing. So.
Right, but it's helpful to know why we're seeing the increases, right? So.
Yeah.
Any other questions on that? Okay, so now we'll talk about how.
Sorry, did we?
I was just gonna say, I appreciate not being shocked, and I think that's what you might have been trying to do is prepare us, so when we actually look at the numbers, it's gonna maybe stand
Yeah,
out.
and historically, when we've seen substantial increases in PERS, we've brought those up and said, hey, you're gonna see some pretty substantial increases in PERS. you know, and we had an opportunity to buy down our PERS, and it was like an extra $1 million. We talked about that here as well. This is a good opportunity to kind of set the table a little bit without getting into talking about the budget. We're just giving that background information that we think would be helpful. So that, because again, you'll get the packets and the budget before we get a chance to talk to you again. And so we're just kind of prefacing a little bit what you're going to see. Okay, how will the budget be presented? At the first meeting, May 3rd, we're going to review the budget page by page. This will allow you to make any comments and questions, suggest specific changes. Just remember now, we're not going to debate or discuss. It's more of like a brainstorming. We'll take every question down and come back to you. We'll compile, come back to you the second meeting to talk about them. Chris and I will probably be here the first meeting without the rest of the department heads. The second meeting, they will be there to answer any questions that come up from the first meeting. And then the second meeting, we're going to, like I said, we're going to review those. Then we'll determine by majority vote if we're going to incorporate them into the budget, the approved budget. So third meeting, you'll approve the budget to the council for their recommendation to adopt it. And you'll also do the tax levies for all the funds. Now we've done this the last couple of years and it seems to work okay. I'm open to any kind of input if you want to add changes to it. I'm always looking for different stuff presenting it. But the page by page, taking the questions and coming back with questions and answers has seemed to work very well. I mean, like we did it in Newport, we're still doing it. Worked out pretty good. I give you all a good chance and you really think about it. Let me know good questions. Any other questions?
You did say earlier, like the May 22nd, we may not have that all done on the 15th, right?
No, we haven't.
You have to do the.
We'll still have 3 meetings. Yeah, I mean,
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it would be nice to get it done in 2 months. Would you like to do that? I'm always kidding.
Let's see this like that, go ahead.
It's not really feasible. Anyway, any other questions? Okay, the budget finders will do the total PL on April 26th. What time, but we will get it to the old staff. If you have any other questions about this meeting, go ahead and move first. Otherwise, that's the orientation. Now, moving into the budget calendar review, nothing's going to change what we really talked about. We've got 3 meetings. We're going to go first. We're going to do the election of the presiding officer. We'll receive the budget message and the budget and the voting.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the last couple of sentences you just said?
We'll approve. Okay, did you hear the May 1st, Jessica? That's the first meeting I'm talking about.
Yes, I just didn't hear after that.
Oh, okay. We're going to appoint the presiding officers. You'll receive the budget message. We definitely have to have a public hearing on the state shared revenues. We'll review the budget document, like I've already said, page by page. Respond to questions. We're not going to. That's anything that we can. We might be able to answer some of the questions so we don't have to deal with it. We do that, but if it looks like it's too heavy, we just wait till we come back. And then, of course, public input is the big thing in the budget committee. We try to get the public to show up. We notice them, notice this all over the place, so we do our best. Second meeting will be on May 15th, so you'll receive your packet of questions and responses to the questions by May 10th. For the second meeting, we're going to talk about, we'll deliberate on those, and then we'll respond to the questions at the same time. Third meeting will be, note this, first 2 meetings are at 5:30. The last meeting, third budget meeting, is at 6 o'clock, and it's on May 22nd.
then we'll respond to any other questions from the second meeting. Then you'll approve the budget document to the council for the approval and adoption. And then you'll approve the, property tax rates for the city and the URA. So that's the budget you mentioned. We decided we were just gonna give you what you have to do, none of the stuff that we, makes a few packets of the pieces. Okay, Diane?
Public hearing on the very first meeting.
Yeah.
How is the public gonna know what's going on without it being published ahead of time
It will be,
for them? For them?
it'll be on the network, on the web.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's their one time to communicate.
Well, and then when council looks at it too on June 10th or June 12th, there's two budget hearings I have to have, or budget, public hearings. One with the budget committee and one with the city council. Lisa?
I had a meeting on the 29th written down as budget. Is that one been canceled? You said that was one that was, okay,
To the 22nd.
So
I'm
that's
not
been-
available on
okay.
29th.
Gotta make sure.
Oh, I had that too, and I'll be in Alaska on the 22nd. You do it by Zoom. That's right. I was like, I know it's scheduled at the right time.
Change it. Anyway, with that, Ruth, I'm turning it back to you. The next meeting will be May 1st
Okay,
at 5:30.
thank you very much, Mike and Chris. If there are no further questions or comments, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting for today. Thank you for coming. It's a pleasure to see everyone here.
Thank you for volunteering, look forward to working through the budget.
Well, that was fixed.